Hey everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how to properly clean your mask in a way that doesn't damage anything on it. And what I mean by damage anything, specifically I'm talking about the seal between your dual pane lens and the foam, because there are ways that you can do this wrong that will just sort of degrade the seal or the adhesive on the foam. You don't want that because that means you're going to have to replace your lens sooner or your foam sooner, and obviously that's not ideal. First thing you want to do, most important thing, is you do want to remove the lens. Now, depending on what kind of mask you have, that could be either very easy or slightly less easy, but either way, it's really, really worth it to take the lens out when you do this. Of course, you can obviously, if you're out there playing for the day and you don't want to take a bunch of time to do it, you can just give the whole thing a wipe down, but eventually you're going to have to give it more of a deep clean, and this is more what I'm talking about. So first things first, you want to pop this lens out. I've already kind of done the work, but pop that out, and when you're cleaning the lens itself, you really, really, really want to be using a microfiber. Like, yes, you can use paper towel. I wouldn't recommend it, especially in the long run. If you're always using paper towel, it will leave these little tiny micro abrasions that do like build up over time. So if you're constantly wiping it down with paper towel, eventually it's going to get kind of scratched up, not super scratched, but not perfect. So definitely use a microfiber. Honestly, they're cheap, they're super worth it. Just invest in one. And if it's completely covered, if there's lots of paint on it, what I generally do is I'll use one side to like wipe off the majority of the paint, and then I'll flip it and I'll use the other side for more of like polishing and buffing. Really important that your microfiber is clean. Keep these clean. If you do use it and get paint on it and then don't clean it, that paint will solidify and it will again lead to like little abrasions on the lens, which you don't want. That's the whole point of having a microfiber, is no abrasions. So, you know, give it a wipe with all the major stuff, then buff it with the other side. That should be good enough. You do want to absolutely make sure, and this is so important, never submerge the lens in water. Just don't do it. If you're submerging the lens in water, basically this seal that separates the two lenses in a dual pane lens, this seal can get degraded, and the moment that seal goes, as soon as air can get through one part of that, your lens is pooched. It's done. You will have to get another one. Any of you out there that have had a dual pane lens go on you, you'll see that it goes from not fogging at all to fogging as much as possible all the time. So definitely don't want that, so never submerge these in water. Really, really important. If you do that, you are dramatically reducing the lifespan of your lens. So just don't do that. And I will point out that there is usually a little lip on the inside of the lens where the dual pane lens ends. It is good to get in there and try and make sure there's no paint in there, because the paint itself can also eat away at the adhesive. So just make sure there's not any like little bits of paint that is sort of waiting in that lip, because eventually it can cause problems for you. As for the rest of the mask itself, so if you have a mask that has removable foam, such as one of these and such as many others, if you can just pop the foam out, then honestly, there's nothing really stopping you from just submerging this entire mask in water if you want to. Still wouldn't do it that often, me personally, but like, if you can take the foam out, then by all means, you can just dunk it in warm water and that's totally fine. If you can't remove the foam, then I wouldn't recommend dunking it, because again, the more you dunk it, the more you're going to eat away at the glue that keeps the foam on, and eventually you just got to get a new foam kit, which is, you know, a little annoying. You don't want to have to do that too often. In terms of what to use to clean this stuff, personally, I would say warm water. Across the board, warm water. Do not go for cleaning products. Do not go for anything that's abrasive or anything like that. Paint is water soluble. Warm water will totally start to eat away at it. So like, just stick with warm water if you can. If it's super gunked up, if it's really gross, or maybe if this paint has been sitting there and solidified for like months, you can use dish soap. Dish soap is pretty gentle, it's pretty mild, it's not really gonna damage anything, but like most of the time, warm water is gonna be good enough. If you're dealing with something that's super caked up, super gross, you haven't cleaned it in months, whatever, you may have issues with paint getting into all of these little nooks and crannies and stuff like that. If you're trying to clean out the nooks and crannies, and specifically the area where the lens goes, it's too tight to get like a microfiber in, toothbrush. toothbrush works really well. They're generally also not super abrasive, and they're good at getting into the little nooks and crannies and stuff like that. If you're careful, you can use like a dental pick to get at like little stuff like this, like little holes and stuff like that. You can use something like that, but just be careful because a dental pick is made out of metal, so you're going to be scratching it up, and obviously nobody wants that. So warm water, microfiber, generally, most of the time, that's more than good enough. If you really, really have to, you can use some dish soap, but again, like, usually not necessary, and most of the time you really don't want to be submerging anything. But if you can take the lens out and the foam out, you can usually get away with submerging the entire mask if you have to. But like, that's pretty much it. There's really not much else you have to worry about in terms of cleaning your masks and lenses and stuff like that. You just don't want to use something abrasive. And you also don't want to leave it too long to the point where it gets that caked on, because once the paint really cakes in there and really solidifies, that's when you're going to find that just washing it off can affect, like, the pattern, can affect the actual, like, paint job on the mask. It just generally makes it look a little older. It doesn't affect the safety of the mask at all. It just, you know, doesn't look as fancy, which is not as ideal. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's nothing crazy, nothing intense. It's just, there are ways that you can screw it up, so I figured I'd let you guys know. Most importantly, it's just like, don't use any kind of cleaning products other than dish soap if you gotta, because that's when you start to just wear things down much faster than you normally would be. But yeah, hope that was helpful for you guys. I know it was more of a simple video, more aimed at the newer players, but you know, newer players need help too. If you have any other suggestions for stuff you'd like to see, things you'd like me to explain, let us know in the comments, and thanks for watching.